We now welcome on candidate for governor, Stacy Lee George. Mr. George, good morning. Thank you for speaking with me.
Good morning to you, and thank you for being here and doing what you're doing, because a lot of the candidates do not have the resources others do, and this is a great opportunity for people to get to know everyone for the primary.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate that. And to begin things off, running as a candidate for governor this year, why do you think you are the best option for Alabama voters?
I think because I've already been a county commissioner for 2 terms. I published a book that Let Stacy Lee George Do It back in September, and it basically talks about cleaning up corruption and how important prayer is, and God and things in schools. And it's just I think that I've already done it. Let George do it because I've already done it. I think Governor Ivey has the record, and a lot of people talk bad about their opponent, but I have a lot of good things to say about Governor Ivey. In 2014, I ran against Governor Bentley, came in second, distant second. I actually filed the ethics complaints against Governor Bentley and testified against him at the Ethics Commission on his problems. But then in 2018, I started to run, and Governor Ivey got appointed after he was removed or resigned. And here's Governor Ivey here, and I'm thinking, she just looks like my grandmother, a nice lady. And I said, I pulled out of the race in 2018 and endorsed Governor Ivey. And so I have good things. She's done some good things. She took the sheriffs were able to keep the inmate food money left over and pocket it, and her and the state legislature has passed a law last couple of years stopping that. So I was thankful for that. So I don't have anything bad to say about Governor Ivey at all, and I just think I'm the best candidate. I've been doing this a long time, been in politics 20-something years, and I'm talking about issues like lowering the gas tax, that 10-cent gas tax. I did not agree with the legislature or Governor Ivey's first act there, but I would be ready to just repeal that immediately. There's so many things. The annual reappraisal that Governor Riley did. He went from every 3 years on your appraisal, I think it's 4 years, and he changed it to annual reappraisal. Now they appraise your property every year, and it seldom goes down. So I would take that back as an executive order back to every 3 or 4 years on your appraisal instead of every year. So I'm all about lower taxes. My whole record as county commissioner, I never even voted for a increase in garbage tax. I just think there's better ways than raising taxes, and I think that's the mentality that we need in Montgomery. We need someone sitting down there that goes to Walmart, shops, and we look at our budget and see what we can do. Can we go out and eat this weekend, or maybe where are we going to eat? Somebody that really just looks at things like normal people do, and not independently wealthy. Nothing wrong with that. But I just like somebody in Montgomery that just was a common person that understood politics, but also understood that letting kids pray in school is important. Letting them pray before a football game is important. And that's where we start at. And then where do we end at? We end where common sense ends. Common sense is what we need.
Having that long 20-plus career in politics, there is the discussion now, many candidates that are running are not career politicians. This is maybe their first time running. They haven't held a public office before. What is your interpretation, having that career in politics, of that narrative that maybe it is time for the career politicians to step away from the political side of things? What is your thoughts on that narrative? And why do you think it's important with your point of view?
Well, I served 8 years. I've been dealing with politics 20-something years. I only served 2 terms, and I think there is limits. I think there should be term limits, just like governor. You only serve 2 terms. I think you should serve no more than 3 terms in any political office. So I would say I'm a correction officer now for the state of Alabama, at the largest prison in Alabama, and I've learned so much, so much. It's the second largest budget, but I think that it's good to have some knowledge of politics. I think you do, because it's easy. I look at these candidates and I just smile and laugh, and I know Governor Ivey does too, and other people, because it's easy to run around the state and go, wow, I would never do that. I would never do that. But until you sit in that seat and make those decisions, you're going to make enemies, you're going to make friends and things. So I just think that you need some experience in government. I think one of the people running in the Republican primary, I think he has some legislative experience. Governor Ivy has been governor. She has experience. I have county commission experience, which is similar. You know, it has some legislative portions as a county commissioner, but mostly it's executive, just like your over employees, the whole district, roads, the whole budget of the county, $23 million budget, build a new jail. We're dealing with prisons now. I mean, I just have a lot of knowledge of all this stuff, but I think it's important that you have some knowledge because you can say anything, but until you're sitting in that seat, you don't really know what anybody will do. So my book says I did this. Governor Ivey has a record of doing something. And, you know, I'm really against all these mandates. I took early on, I was one of the first ones to announce, and we're driving down the truck and I hear this radio and Governor Ivey says, she wanted to blame the unvaccinated folks. And that's what really tore me up because I am an unvaccinated person. And I don't believe that the government should mandate masks or vaccines. I think that's a personal choice for people.
Going on your vaccination status, is there a specific reason why you're not vaccinated?
I already have 85% antibodies built up, and we did a blood test on that. Doesn't make sense. And then a lot of my family members have been vaccinated and they have COVID again, you know. Now they said, well, it makes it milder. But my approach is this. I don't like government mandating things. That's why I ran for office in Morgan County. My book tells everything about it, about buying property in Morgan County. And it was a government mandate to be able to go before the county commission and buy and sell property. So the same thing, I look at this mandate here, you know, with antibodies, I don't even know why you'd even consider even having the vaccine, and it doesn't appear to be working with everybody. And so my point is I would respect people that wanted to have it and they didn't. But let me tell you what I would do. I would be down there right now. I would be filing action in court to save people's jobs, to prolong Joe Biden from, as long as he stays in office, he would know Governor George was in Alabama, because I would be filing real specific court action to slow down this process of people losing their jobs in Alabama. And that's one thing as governor you need to be doing. You need to be fighting this president on these mandates where people are really losing jobs, where they're going to be out of groceries and things like that coming up because they have to make a decision, a moral decision, a conscious decision, whether they want to take the vaccine or not. And that is wrong. That is wrong.
If vaccines are not one of your main options to ending this pandemic, how would you try and curb the pandemic, curb the case rate in Alabama?
I tell you what, I think that thing's overinflated. I work as a correction officer. I work in hospitals ever since this started, and I've saw people live and die. I've had COVID, and it was terrible about a year and a half ago. It is real and it's terrible. But I have watched this thing, and I've heard nurses, doctors. I've had an inside track on this COVID every night in a mask, sitting here looking at people live, die. I've prayed with a lot of folks. I've seen them heal. I've seen some people die. But I've realized one thing. This virus is a China virus, so don't blame the unvaccinated folks. Blame China. But the bottom line is this thing, everybody's going to eventually have this COVID-19. And you're either going to live or you're going to die. And some people have died, and it's sad. But it is a virus, and there is nothing. All you can do is speed it up or slow it down. But it's something that's going to go through people. They're going to build antibodies. And we just have to treat the symptoms. I mean, most people now, when they get it, it's a pretty mild case, from what I understand.
So judging from what you're saying is, on the terms of COVID-19, you'd rather than try and curb it with vaccinations or masks or anything like that, you'd rather just, in a way, live with it to the extent that we do with the flu every year?
That's right. That's what we did. And, you know, we didn't have any. I watched this thing firsthand. I'm like, where's all the flu cases? Where are they? And they disappeared. And everything was COVID-19, and everything was marked COVID-19. And then all of a sudden, we had a few flu cases again. And I was like, wow. And a lot of people died with the flu. But, you know, basically, they have a lot of over-the-counter things that you can take. And I just think that this thing has really been blown way out of proportion. And I think it's more biblically based and prophecy based than anything else. And it's kind of an agenda on this thing to really drive it home, because the facts you see on TV and stuff and on, you know, news outlets is just not accurate, I don't believe. And we would make sure it was accurate. In Alabama, you'll know how many people lived, died, And there's going to be some real close study in Alabama on what's really going on with COVID-19. And I think to tell people, if you would you wear a mask? I think it's good. I mean, if you want to, I wear it sometimes I don't. But I do not like mandating anything. Our kids in schools, all these things, masks are not good for you to wear continuously. And I saw people's face just all broke out. And did it really help? It may have knocked some down, but according to who you listen to. I just listen to God and believe that I work for a higher power, and we all do, and we pray and do the best we can, and we put God first, He'll see us through.
You mentioned biblically based, and then you touched on God. What do you mean that this is biblically based exactly? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think this is toward the end. This is some of those pestilences and things that in the Bible is toward the end, toward Revelation. You can read it, and everybody interprets things. I think it's toward the end. We're getting to the end. I believe in the rapture. I believe that we're going to be one day raptured up with Jesus Christ in the air. I believe in that. Some people disagree on what time it is, but I believe this is all part of a prophetic thing that's working out. And honestly, I have to say, I honestly believe that in a sense, I don't believe that the government in general loves me or anybody else that much. I really don't. I really don't. And for people to be so concerned about you taking a vaccine and so adamant, I don't think that is that. I think it's training your minds to be ready to get things that government gives you. And I don't like this. I don't like where we're headed, and I don't like the pattern. And until now, I like Governor Ivey, but I differ on this. But until Biden took a position, for the mandate, Governor Ivey was already rolling her sleeves up and let's take the vaccine. And I don't know why y'all won't take it. And she shut business. Small business has been destroyed in Alabama. They're boarded up. Everywhere I go in Alabama, they're boarded up. Businesses, restaurants. We don't have anybody that'll work anymore. All this free money's come through. We're not going to do that. We're not going to give people free money. If they're not going to work in Alabama, they're not going to get a check. They'll get a disability checks, things like that. But I'm talking about this free money handout. This early tax credits, all this stuff, that stuff ends when I come in. You're going to either work or you're going to improvise.
When you mention getting near the end, do you mean the end of this pandemic, or do you mean the end of
No, I mean
humanity?
just the end of biblical times. I think where the Bible's at, we're in Revelation. I mean, you can look at this book, this Holy Bible. I believe that's where we have really messed up on. Everybody running for governor is going to be for God, guns, and Republican primary, and against a lottery. They're going to fight all these things. But in the bottom line is, do you really believe that? And I tried to get prayer back in the football game up here in Arab. They stopped a group from Madison, Wisconsin, they send letters all the state of Alabama. A lot of people don't know this. And they stopped schools from being able to pray before a football game on the PA. Well, it's crazy. I did this for 3 years, but we, as Alabama, the first thing I'll do is I'll allow kids to pray on the PA before school, like we did when we were kids. And we're going to let them pray before football games, basketball games, all these things. And it's all legal because I researched through the court. There's a court case in Florida. I think it's Duval County. But basically, if the teacher doesn't tell the kids what to pray, these kids can pray before football games. And we've got to put God back in these schools, and we can't talk about it. All these candidates and all these people say, we got to put God back in the school, and they want to put the 10 Commandments back in and hang on the wall. Look, I want to put what's in these kids' hearts and let them pray to God and for protection, because we didn't have all these problems back when I was a kid. All these drugs, meth, people in prison smoking insecticide now, licking insecticide off walls to get high. Have you ever heard of such? It's crazy. Yeah.
Mentioning school and bringing prayer back to school, the Alabama education system is severely lacking, term for a better word, with its ranking as a national system.
Yes.
What would be your solutions to that? Some candidates believe maybe more discipline for students. Some believe you need to knock it down to the bedrock and invite new ways of teaching, invest in teachers more. What would be your solutions other than prayer in the education system in Alabama?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would do this. Now, I would take these kids at a young age, and just like they're doing in prison now, I've watched this and I say, wow, you go in and you get an education. They're even educating people in prison. I can't understand why we're not giving a free education to these kids if we're free educating in the prison. They got Calhoun College and all these things in these prisons. But let me tell you what we're doing, and I'm seeing, and this is where they lack. And I've been to college, Calhoun College. I won Political Science Student of the Year there in 1999. I've worked in electronic machinery maintenance. I've worked for the Department of Defense as a contractor. I've worked Wiley Laboratories. I've been a correction officer, worked in nuclear power plants all over the United States. Been a county commissioner 2 terms. So I understand this whole basic thing, but basically what we've got to do is we've got to identify these kids at a young age, and we've got to put them into the area where they go. Okay, so in other words, we know a kid's going to be good with their hands, or good with their head, real good with numbers, real good with mathematics, real good with management. And we've got to identify these at, 4th to 6th grade, and we've got to get these kids directed in the path of getting a job. Not worry about sending them to 4-year college, and then they get out and they don't even know what to do. They may have worked at Burger King, they may have worked at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with that. They pay good money now because nobody will work anymore because of government funding and things. But the bottom line is we have to get them directed in the path and let them figure out what they want to do, and then promote what it is, whether it's a 2-year degree. Welding pay is one of the highest paying trades anywhere around. But what happens is we get them connected to that college early on, real early on, and connected to where they're going, and then get them out and get a job. We got more jobs in Alabama than anywhere else. We got the second, a lot of people don't know this, we're the second lowest property tax, and I'm so proud of that, of anywhere in the United States except Hawaii. That's the only state that has higher property tax. A lot of people don't know that, and they don't understand why that is. But the bottom line is I'm proud of the fact that Alabama has lower property tax. And if we can lower taxes, I think that's the biggest key. But I'll tell you something else that I'm willing to do that nobody else is willing to do. And you're talking about education. Look here. This right here is a Frisbee. This thing went viral one time. This represents how much money we're losing in other states to a lottery. And the minute you say lottery, you just ignite folks, especially in the Republican primary. But the bottom line is, I'm looking at this. This was like 2014. Tennessee had made $330 million, Georgia $900 million a year, and $1 billion in Florida for education. Mississippi has full-blown gambling and all this, and now it has a lottery. But we get zero. You see that? I threw this thing. I usually throw this thing. We get $0 there, right? Okay. This Frisbee went viral, this 50-cent Frisbee a few years ago. And they go, how can you believe in Jesus Christ and believe that people need to vote on the lottery? Let me tell you something. 1999, I was out in politics. And I saw Don Siegman put a horrible lottery bill up, and people got to vote on it. But me, whether I play the lottery or whether you play the lottery, shouldn't matter on the people being able to vote on a lottery. And every governor that's running will say, no, we're not going to do it. They're going to beat their fist. No, no, no. But you know what? The people of Alabama deserve the right to vote on a good, clean lottery bill. And I won't let those Porch Creek Indians give me money like they do these Republican candidates to keep the lottery off the ballot. That's what they do. They've been doing this for years. And we're not going to do that. They're not going to run the state of Alabama. The people of Alabama, if I'm in here, the governor has nothing to do really with the lottery, but they always ask them about it. But they really have no power to veto or anything. But I'm not going to get down there and sit down there and take gambling money from the Porch Creek Indians and give it to the Baptist Association to go against a lottery for the people of Alabama. I mean, our kids need to be educated too. And I think that's one thing. There's a lot of avenues for people to do this, but as my book says, I was raised on disability Social Security. My dad was disabled when I was young, and I went to work at age 12. So I look at things, not every kid's born with a silver spoon in the mouth. And every child should be able to go to school in Alabama free. I believe that they should. And with an alternative revenue like a lottery. 240 million is what I calculate we're losing.
With the lottery, what would you focus on? Would it be teacher salaries? Would it be school supplies? What exactly would you use the lottery for when it comes to improving schools?
Well, what I would do is basically you would have to have there would be a criteria set. So in other words, a kid's not going to go get a free check to go for a 4-year degree. We're going to push 2-year degrees and try to get 2-year degree people, everybody in Alabama, to get a 2-year degree. Then if they want to get a 4-year degree, then that would be something we might assist them on. But I want every kid to at least be able to get a 2-year degree, find out what they want to do in life, make sure they're on point, and pay for that college. I believe that's important. I believe that's the important part, but they need to work at least 10 to 15 hours a week to get this. I'm not going to put put money towards something and then they have no clue of how to work. You see these kids get out of college, they don't even know they don't have a clue what a job is. Their families put them through the college, which is a good thing, but they don't have a clue on work ethics. So they get in there and then they go to the workforce and then they end up not getting a good job because they don't have any work experience. That's what they need to do. It's kind of like building credit. You got to work your way into things and so that you're set in place. But it would be educating kids. We really need, I want to really, a portion of it would go, I can't remember what I put down there, but my original plan, like I said, the governor has nothing to do with it really other than being for it. But my plan would go in there and address mental health too. Mental health facilities. I see so many inmates now in prison. I could talk about prisons all day, but we haven't even touched on it. Second largest budget in the state. But we need to treat mental health. They shut the mental centers down. I was down there a few years ago when I think Governor Bentley was in to shut the last one of the last ones down. And we got mental people that either end up under a bridge, okay, in somebody's home if they can afford it, or they end up in prison or jail. That's it. And we're better than that in Alabama. And a portion of that, probably like 10%, would go to mental health, being able to identify these people and help them, because this is terrible. If you saw what I saw every night in Alabama prison with mental health and out the street too, it's just it's sad. And we, as in Alabama, everybody keeps the prison shut up. They don't want to talk about it. They're like they're incarcerated. But if they knew what was going on there, we should have brought the National Guard in. I've been there 12 years in the largest prison in Alabama, but we should have already brought in the National Guard. And I talked to the former commissioner about that, and he realized it should. But if people knew what was going on right now, they would demand that the National Guard be brought in because of staffing and because of the dangers in the prison.
Sir, before I finish this interview, is there anything else you'd like to add this morning?
Well, I just, this is the biggest deal. I've been there and done that, and I'm not just saying this. This right here tells everything about me, and I use that because I've already done it. Can I do it? Yes, I can do it, and I can promote Alabama, and I'm innovative. I want to be coming into Alabama, and you see a sign that says "Welcome to the state of Alabama." We're the second lowest property tax in the nation. I want to brag on the things that people are about. But let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to expand in some new things. A lot of people don't know this, but there's so many of these ATVs out here. Other states, they put a little sticker on them, and they actually are able to get tax revenue and allow four-wheelers, or these larger four-wheelers with helmets and with blinkers. They have these kits and these razors and things of that nature that you could legalize these on secondary roads and bring in new revenue. And it's just, there's so many things that if you could think out of the box that you could do in Alabama. It would just be like a ongoing thing. I would have committees together where we come up with ideas. We'd put things on the ballot for people to say, hey, what do you want to do, Alabama? And when Alabama said, we're going to do this, that's exactly what we would do. That's exactly what we would do.
Mr. George, it was a pleasure speaking with you this morning. Hopefully near towards the primaries, I can speak with you again. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. God bless.
Thank you.